After the British had taken the city of Philadelphia, George Washington was expected to attack and try and take it back. Congress wanted him to. Even Washington himself was one to favor aggression. Philadelphia was where Congress was sitting, so its members had to flee. You could say it was a symbolic capital of the 13 colonies at that point. In all points of warfare prior to this, if you took an opponent's capital city, the war most of the time would just be over. There was a fear that the taking of Philadelphia meant the end of the war. The general populace might stop supporting independence and throw their support back behind the British. George Washington then asked for all his generals to give their opinion on the matter. General Nathaniel Greene, one of the most underrated heroes of the Revolution, writes this:
"We must not be governed by our wishes. Let us not flatter ourselves from the heat of our zeal that men can do more than they can. The successes of last winter, at Trenton and Princeton, were brilliant and attended with the most happy consequences in changing the complexion of the times, but if the bills of mortality were to be consulted, I fancy it would be found we were no great gainers by those operations. An attack upon the city of Philadelphia appears to me like forming a crisis for American liberty which, if unsuccessful, I fear will prove her grave."
Washington, upon this advice, decides against attacking Philadelphia. I think the letter was so well written. He first states that he understands the motivations for attacking. Then he references past victories, but then appeals to the effects of a failed attack. He knows Washington's motivations are to advance American liberty and win the war, not just for his own ego or vanity. The strategy that Washington laid out to Congress prior to this was one of keeping an army in the field. That one particular city or town was not what was important. But actually sticking to that plan as Philadelphia fell was easier said than done. After the British decided to abandon Philadelphia, they had to march back across New Jersey to get to New York. Again, Washington asks for advice, and Greene now switches course and advises an attack.
"If we suffer the enemy to pass through the Jerseys without attempting anything upon them, I think we shall regret it. I cannot help thinking we magnify our difficulties beyond realities. People expect something from us and our strength demands it. I am by no means for rash measures, but we must preserve our reputation. I think we can make a very serious impression without any great risk, and if it should amount to a general action, I think the chance is greatly in our favor."
Washington, after receiving this advice, decided to attack, which is what we now call the Battle of Monmouth. Greene was someone who Washington trusted and respected, and Greene was correct on both of these accounts. Credit goes to both men who humbled themselves enough to think critically, put aside their egos, and change tactics when needed. Washington always favored an all-out assault and major battle at New York, but restrained himself the entire war. Greene wanted a general position early in the war, but took the unwanted task of quartermaster in order to serve his country. These letters are good examples of how to take feedback as a leader, how to give feedback as a subordinate, and how to always keep the mission first, maintaining objectivity and adapting to the current situation. These men ended up forming a really great team, which is one of the reasons the war against Britain was successful. It was truly a nation's best and brightest coming together to win.